So I've watched film for Ohio State, Michigan the past week so many times that I just want to beat myself in the fucking face every time I watch this offense go on the field and absolutely piss down its leg like a dead dog. Um, I don't understand the game plan that we went into with Sharon Moore and Chip Lindsey. I feel like this was a pattern of events that we saw against USC, that we saw against Oklahoma, and now we're seeing this against Ohio State. Michigan is a team currently in the 2025 season that can only beat bad teams and barely beat Purdue and Northwestern, and beat teams that barely have a pulse. We didn't beat anybody that was ranked throughout the entire year. We beat Washington, congratulations. We beat Nebraska, congratulations. We beat CMU, congratulations. We beat New Mexico. This team looked ill prepared against Ohio State. Defense was on the field for 40 fucking minutes. Offense just couldn't move the ball down the field. Besides the first quarter, to where Michigan was moving the ball successfully, but when it came to Bryce Underwood sitting in the pocket and making throws, Bryce Underwood looked like an absolute fucking clown. I'm trying to do this as professional as possible, but my emotions are getting ahead of me. I am just absolutely frustrated with this team. I'm absolutely frustrated with this program. It is hard to be a Michigan fan right now. That doesn't mean that I would necessarily give up on this team or switch teams or anything like that, because I've been a Michigan fan my entire life. The 2023 season was the golden standard for the University of Michigan. We had a game manager quarterback who also can be successful in clutch situations, J.J. McCarthy. And if you don't believe that, then I'm just going to call you a fucking retard. Especially against the game against Alabama, when it was under 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. Michigan and JJ drove the ball down the field, scored, and JJ made some pretty big plays. Michigan had an offensive line group that had played over 1,500 snaps together, and our wide receiver core was okay. I mean, we had Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, Colson Loveland, and that piece of shit, Samaj Morgan. So the defense was elite at the time, and it was coached by a great coach who's currently in the NFL, Jesse Minter. So just thinking about the 2023 team and the standard that we have going forward, I'm not going to accept going 9-3 and barely beating teams with a bare minimum pulse. I mean, come on. We scored a total of 3 touchdowns against ranked teams altogether. We only had 1 touchdown against Oklahoma, and we had 2 touchdowns against USC. And USC absolutely smacked us around. And we had 0 touchdowns against Ohio State. Kicked 3 field goals. When I saw the first field goal kick from Zavada, and he was 100% on the day, I knew exactly what I was getting into watching this game. That we were going to kick field goals all day, we're not going to score, because that is not how you beat Ohio State. You need to get more points. I mean, that's the objective of football. But we needed to drive the ball down the field and get in the end zone. And with Jordan Marshall hurting himself during this game, it was the offense just went completely one-dimensional. And we had Kutzal, who was a walk-on, come in there, and we were basically relying on a walk-on kid, a walk-on running back to carry this offense, because Bryce Underwood was unable to do absolutely fucking anything. For example, we have this play here where Michigan is on Ohio State's 7-yard line, and it's 3rd and 6. Right now, it's first quarter, 9 minutes, 53 seconds. And just watching this play, I mean, Michigan's idea is that what's going to happen, Bryce is going to take the snap. McCauley is up against Igman Nosen. and McCauley's going to run a fade route into the end zone. Bryce is going to drop back about a foot, and Bryce is going to launch that ball in the air. So watching this, I see Bryce already looking at McCauley, and Bryce is just throwing off his back foot. McCauley's not really seeing the ball at all, or Donovan McCauley's not really seeing the ball. And this is what it comes to when you talk about like just terrible and piss poor like quarterback mechanics. When we have a quarterback that is throwing off their back foot, you're not going to be accurate. You want to throw off, again, your leading foot as well, but you're throwing off your feet are not planted at all, and his hips are not towards a wide receiver. So this ball is just gonna be a whiff ball at this point. And the result of this is McCauley gets basically bullied by Igmanosin. Now, I've seen some arguments to where people are saying McCauley couldn't have made this play, yada, yada, yada. I don't know anything about fucking football, blah, 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 blah. There was just no way that McCauley was making this play. This ball was just poorly fucking thrown. And if Bryce Underwood would have been throwing off his leading foot instead of just throwing off his back foot, I believe that McCauley would have made this play. And it's just so goddamn disappointing just watching this when Bryce Underwood, the first game of the season against New Mexico, was a different quarterback. I feel like he was a better quarterback at the time. And now he has significantly regressed throughout the whole season. He got worse. He doesn't trust his offensive line. His mechanics, his footwork are all just piss poor. And I don't know what the coaching staff at Michigan is doing to develop him. I've said this on Twitter a bunch of different times that Michigan has done fairly well in the recruiting class for 2026. We got Brady Marchese, Travis Johnson, and we have Andrew Marsh going into his sophomore season. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan tries to pick up a wide receiver in the transfer portal. We're gonna have all these different playmakers. Having Savion Hyder as a freshman running back, a 5-star. If Justice Haynes stays and Jordan Marshall stays, the Michigan could have quite possibly the best running back room in college football. However, if we do not have a quarterback, having all these different playmakers won't mean jack fucking shit. For example, Andrew Marsh had 0 receptions Saturday against Ohio State. He had 0 targets against Ohio State. He had 0 yards. Our best wide receiver on our team didn't get the ball thrown to him not one time. Not one fucking time. I mean, some of this stuff is just completely unacceptable. And I've been holding back on this and also kind of, being extremely verbal on Twitter about it. That sounds like a contradiction in itself, but it's not. If Bryce Underwood has a terrible year next year, he needs to get out of Ann Arbor, and we need to find someone else. I think maybe Tommy Carr can be a suitable fit for Michigan. Maybe Brady Smigel, if he stays healthy. I just have 0 confidence in Bryce Underwood at this point to do anything. And Michigan fans can be mad at me saying, he is only a freshman. This team is very young. There are freshman quarterbacks out there that are doing extremely well, and their mechanics are so much better than Bryce Underwood's. And I just don't know during practice, is Chip Lindsey, the quarterback coach, seeing this and just okay that Bryce just is slowly regressing throughout the season and it's not getting better. I don't know what they were seeing during practice. And this is a problem. So Michigan, a couple of things that Michigan needs to do for next season to be successful, because they are going through the absolute fucking gauntlet next year. They are going to play at Indiana. They are going to play at Ohio State. We play at home against Oklahoma, Penn State. They play at Oregon. And I know I said at Indiana, but I think Indiana is at home. However, and they also play at Iowa. So next year is going to be the make it or break it for Sherrone Moore. If we do not make the playoffs next year, this entire coaching staff needs to get wiped. And what I mean is that every single person on this coaching staff needs to get fired, and we need to bring someone else in. And I'm not a pessimist, I'm not a naysayer, I'm not a sadist. I'm just a realist. It is unacceptable for us to bring in all this talent to have the best recruit coming into college football just completely pissed down his fucking leg and look worse than other freshmen who were graded lower than Bryce Underwood throughout the season. And what Bryce really needs to do, Bryce just needs to stop fucking talking. Stop saying that nobody's ever seen a freshman like this. I understand you want to gloat and boast yourself, but at the end of the day, pride comes before the fall, and definitely the fall hit us pretty hard on Saturday last week. Bryce just needs to get better. Bryce needs to work with someone that will be on the sidelines and be there to teach him and mentor him throughout the game. And then someone that needs to be there during the offseason that needs to improve his mechanics. I mean, we saw, if you're a football buff and you understand, like, just throwing mechanics, Josh Allen had a horrible throwing mechanic, and the Buffalo Bills were able to basically turn him around into becoming an NFL MVP and quite possibly one of the best quarterbacks right now in the league. Bryce needs something in that caliber. Bryce needs someone to completely reshape him into becoming someone who is going to carry this team and turn him into a game manager and also a clutch playmaker. Because right now, Bryce looks completely fucking lost in that pocket. And he has no faith in the offensive line because his confidence is extremely shot. So what does Bryce need to do? And what does Michigan need to do? They need to completely rebuild Bryce into becoming the quarterback that Michigan needs him for this team to be successful. Like I said, no matter who we get as wide receivers, running backs, or other playmakers on this offense, if our quarterback is absolutely fucking terrible, this team will go nowhere.